So, within the anime community, there are a few topics that are always heavily debated. Is filler material canon? Do you watch subs or dubs? And are you able to even enjoy any live action series or movies that are based upon anime or manga? And I kind of understand both mindsets. On the one hand, movies are adapted from everything. Everything from novels to holy scriptures to short stories to comic books to video games. So, making a movie based on manga in itself doesn't seem like it's that wild of a concept for studios and filmmakers to want to do. Besides, there are vast riches of storytelling that exist out there within the manga landscape, and it's a gigantic playground for anybody looking for a good script to adapt. However, when you put it into practice, time and time again, anime and manga inspired movies and shows turn out to be absolute trash. But why are they just so hard to get right? Well, once again, I think there are a few reasons. The first one is that most manga and anime is formatted for long-form storytelling. They're serialized. They're meant to come out chapter by chapter, spanning dozens of volumes, leaving you on cliffhangers over and over again. So, trying to cram it all into a 2-hour movie is extremely difficult to do. This is why when they adapt a Marvel storyline for the movies, the word adaptation is used very loosely. They create their own continuity for the movies, their own version of the characters, and they use it to fit into the movie universe's storyline rather than literally adapting the comic storyline. But there's also a huge risk when doing this with manga that does not exist for comics. With comic books, you are always constantly able to change the continuities, you change writers, you change universes, you change motivations. You can have an Adam West goofy Batman and a Christian Bale serious Batman, and we recognize both of them just as Batman. But with manga, you traditionally have one writer and one story the entire way through, and that means that the character is just the character. And if you attempt to change them in any way when you adapt it, you take away the intent of what that character is meant to represent in a way that you don't have with comic adaptations. They did this with the Death Note movie. Even though you took the story idea of having a Death Note that worked the same way, by changing the lead character from one of the most intelligent, manipulative, and pragmatic thinking geniuses in manga into some sort of simping dork, well, then you kind of lost the reason why people love Death Note. It's not about the Death Note itself, this device or MacGuffin that it has. I mean, that is cool, but people loved it for its characters and for the dynamic between Light and L. You can change a comic book character like a Batman so long as you give him a utility belt and a cool car. It's still basically Batman, but you can't change Light Yagami and still have it work. So the problem lies in with that adaptation, with changing character to suit story rather than changing story to suit character, which is what they should be doing. Do I need to remind people of Dragon Ball Evolution? I know, it came out a while back, but it's just that thorn in our sides that will never go away. Yeah, it had Dragon Balls in it, and it had martial arts, I guess. I mean, stupid CG wire spinning martial arts that Hollywood does that's not real martial arts, but whatever.
Don't worry, it won't be a fight. It'll be a massacre. That's gotta hurt.
But you know what it didn't have? It didn't have Goku. Sure, it had this dopey loser guy who was named Goku.
I am Goku.
But they weren't trying to make a Dragon Ball movie. They were trying to make some weird Spider-Man, whatever young adult novel that was popular at the time and try to make it fit in with the current narrative of Hollywood in the early 2000s, and it just made no sense. They made him a teenager trying to get the girl.
Hey, Chi-Chi! Hey, thanks for inviting me to your party.
You know, Goku, who in the manga starts out as a boy who grew up in the wilderness and was so pure and innocent, he didn't even understand the difference between boys and girls, so much so that he had to go up to them and tap them on the crotch. Which is hilarious and totally wouldn't fly today, but makes me laugh. Or how about Bulma? Let's make her super recognizable. How do we do that? Oh, I know. Let's just put a blue strip in her hair. Yeah, one little blue strip. She's Bulma now. Anyways, my point is the filmmakers of these movies changed the characters to an unrecognizable point that you can no longer consider it an adaptation in any way. Now it's just a movie that has elements of the manga, but is not the manga. The character is the most important part of a story, and once you lose that, you lose the connection to the heart and soul of that story. Even though there are people who watch Dragon Ball only for the fights, the true fans and the diehards that are always going to be there are there for the characters. Dragon Ball Evolution, taken as the piece of garbage it is actually a pretty funny movie to watch, but it has blatant disrespect to the source material, which is what made people hate it. Recently, the Cowboy Bebop live action on Netflix was made, and I tried my hardest to like it, but even though I like the set designs and the costumes, and I like John Cho as an actor in general, once again it was the changing of character that ruined it for me. They made Vicious out to be some bumbling idiot, they made Julia into a more antagonistic role, and they changed Jet's character to having some kind of estranged family, which completely ruins him because he's meant to be this old loner with a broken history. The ideas are like the characters Jet, Spike, and Faye have nobody and are all from different walks of life and all wind up having to be together even though they would never naturally be a team. Jet can't have a kid because he's no longer Jet if that happens. We also had the issue of popularity. A lot of the live action adaptations aren't based on what manga would make a great live action, but instead, it's what anime is currently popular. And this usually results in a lot of shonen anime adaptations, but shonen anime works great because it's an anime. It's the fast-paced action scenes, the intensity of the art style and the character expressions, the larger-than-life power systems and creatures or demons or titans or whatever it is. It looks better in animated form. Anime brings it to life more so than a live action ever could. When you translate a lot of these things into live action, the intensity is brought down, and what once looked intimidating now just looks kind of corny. Meanwhile, there are so many grounded, realistic stories like Monster that would work amazing in live action, and you could have another Breaking Bad or Sopranos style story on your hands if you adapted these kind of things right, but because it's not mainstream or popular enough, it's harder to get off the ground. Now, after saying all of that, it might seem like I hate all live-action adaptations in general, but as with everything, there are exceptions. So, there do exist a few live-action anime that I actually think have been well done, so if you are desperate to find one that doesn't make you want to jump off a bridge, here are 5 in no particular order that I actually kind of enjoy. First, I have to mention the Rurouni Kenshin live-action series. There are 5 films here that basically adapt the entire manga storyline. And sure, they skip things and change things, but not at the expense of character. And that's my main point. You can change things in the plot and the storyline as long as it makes sense to who the characters are as people. Everyone here does a fantastic job portraying their roles. It goes in order of the manga, and the fight scenes are a spectacle to watch. It's flashy and a bit over the top, but they also hit all of the emotional beats and philosophy that the story is supposed to have and be there as well. So I was pleasantly surprised that they were able to make these movies as good as they were, and even though they aren't perfect, I really do appreciate them. The next one I'm going to mention is called Edge of Tomorrow, and most people didn't even know that this was based on a manga because it was never marketed that way, and also the manga isn't very popular at all. But this is a sci-fi action film starring Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt that came out in 2014, and honestly, I think it's pretty criminally underrated. The manga is called All You Need Is Kill, and I don't know why they didn't call the movie that, but they also changed the title to Live, Die, Repeat, and then back again, so honestly, they had no idea how to market this thing, which is unfortunate. Because basically, in this movie, humanity is at war with this strange alien species, and the lead character gets infected with something that makes it so every time he dies, he has to live the same day over and over again. So it's kind of like Groundhog Day meets Aliens. Each time he respawns, he has to figure out how to survive longer and get more information in order to help save everybody. And I really enjoyed this film. It's a shame that the marketing was so shitty and nobody saw it, but I'd say check it out. This next pick I am going to get shit for, and people are going to be mad at me, but I don't care, because I actually liked the Ghost in the Shell movie because the characters are true to themselves, and I feel like the people making it actually did care about the property. It wasn't made for cash, and it was made out of passion, and I felt that while watching it. And even the fact that they threw in references not just to the original, but also Standalone Complex, and also had the creator of the manga on set with them from time to time, giving them his blessing while doing justice to a lot of the story beats and technology of the film and the series. I just liked it. Sure, it is dumbed down for US audiences and there's no replacement for the anime, but I think that it is an enjoyable movie, and pretty much the only criticisms I hear about it is Scarlett Johansson, but I really couldn't care less about that. It never bothered me. Sure, all things being equal, if a different actress was in the role, maybe it would have been better, but I really didn't care. My next pick is another shockingly good US creation, which is Alita Battle Angel. This movie kicked ass. The characters were great, the action looked fantastic, they actually made Alita look like Alita. Not everything in this movie is perfect, and I do have some gripes with it, but I think that when I watched it, I was just so shocked that I didn't hate it. I was already a fan of its director, Robert Rodriguez, and sometimes he can get a little bit too CG heavy and green screen happy for my taste, but in this movie, he actually makes it work to his benefit, and I found it really enjoyable. And lastly, I'm going to talk about the Japanese-produced films of Gantz. Now, more particularly the first one, again, no, it's not as dark and fucked up as the manga is, not nearly as gore-filled or horrific, but it does work well as a fun action sci-fi movie that at least understands its characters and the property. The action is great, it's well choreographed. The second movie kind of veers off and does its own thing. I don't know, it's okay, but the first film is really fun, and I find it to be a pretty decent adaptation. Now, once again, none of these movies are perfect. It's just a few examples of ones that I liked along the way. But generally, I do think the live-action treatment of anime and manga just tends to fall flat. Whether it's a lack of understanding of characters, of property, not respecting the source material, only trying to adapt popular shonen, or just trying to make a quick buck, it seems to be a medium that is more often than not best left within the pages of manga or with animation. I think that it is possible to make a great live-action manga adaptation, but it's going to have to start with somebody who is actually very passionate about something and a studio that is willing to back them up with the finances. Anyways, guys, those are just my thoughts at the end of the day, so let me know in the comments below what live-action versions you might actually like, and let me know which one you hated the most, because that could be a fun discussion. Other than that, guys, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it if you did so, and subscribe if you want to stick around and see more. Help me get to that 100K subscriber goal. I am very close. And other than that, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll talk to you next time.